Hi, everybody. It's Tamara from Moogly, and I am here with our first real Just Crochet and Catch Up live for 2024. It has been a crazy year already. We're only a month and not even a half in, and somehow it's felt like a whole year of its own. But I think that's because so much has been going on in the world at large. I'm sure in your life, I know in my life, but also on the blog. So today is our chance to sit down and catch up and talk about what's been happening on Moogly and what's to come. Because if you've been following along on social media or on the blog, you know there's some very exciting stuff in store this year, as well as some great things already happening. So I'm taking just a moment since we are live to try and refresh my media here in front of me so that I can see any live comments or questions you have. And of course, if you've got any to add later, I will try and come back and answer those as well. So just trying to get all the videos up here so I can see your comments. All right, great. Looks like we are officially live. So if you're watching us live, please do hit that like button and let the system know that we are up and running. So if you're just joining us, I'm Tamara Kelly from Moogly, and we're going to go over what's been happening on Moogly and what there is to look forward to here this year, and of course, just in the coming month. So right now, what's been happening? We have launched Moogly Crochet Along 2024. It is up and going. This would be our 11th year for this Crochet Along, so I think it's the longest Crochet Along going so far. Basically, if you're not familiar, we have 24 12-inch squares come out over the course of the year, basically every 2 weeks. We wrap up with our squares right before American Thanksgiving, so you've got the month of December to assemble your squares and, of course, get any holiday projects done. We all know that's a busy month, right? So that is what's happening. We're back for another year. I am using Red Heart with Love for my blanket this year. It's the same yarn I've used for my last few Crochet Along blankets. You can see I have a much loved skein right here. This year I'm doing a Stash Buster. So I've decided to go through some of the beautiful colors of Red Heart with Love I have here on the shelves behind me. And every 3 squares or so, I think, I'll change out one of the colors. And then I'm going to use light gray and my white as sort of my steady colors throughout to help pull it all together. So we'll see how it turns out, right? It's an adventure for all of us. I don't see the squares more than 2 weeks ahead of time from when you guys see them. So it's really just a surprise and adventure for all of us, which is one of the things I love about it. So let's go ahead and look at our 2 squares that are already up for this year. So far, we have square number 1 here. This is block number 1. This is by Jessie at Home. A really gorgeous block. You can see here it's very symmetrical. It doesn't have an up or a down. It is center out. And if you look really close right there, you can see red's always a little difficult to show on camera. It likes to flare up a little bit. You can see it in the gray there too. I think it's actually easier to see in the red though. There are these Jacob's Ladder braids happening in this square, which is something that Jessie uses a lot in her designs. So if you enjoyed this technique, definitely, or, if you enjoyed the pattern at all, definitely check out Jessie's site. She's got some really gorgeous designs. Many of them use this technique. And of course, she's got lots of other fun stuff as well, both crochet and knit. And I want to take this opportunity to congratulate Jessie because she is the brand new owner of Crochet Foundry magazine. If you aren't familiar with that, once this is over, go ahead and open a new tab and search up crochetfoundry.com. It is a fantastic digital magazine for crochet. It really focuses on size inclusiveness and really just forward fashionable designs, primarily for women, but I think there's a few other things in there. Every issue, of course, is different. And it's just been really neat to see it grow. And I really want to, again, congratulate Jessie. She's the new owner, so she'll be putting it together. Just very happy for her. So check that out. If you've been looking for a crochet magazine to add to your life, Crochet Foundry would certainly be a really fun choice. Okay, so that was square number 1. Let's jump to square number 2 from Linda Dean Crochet. Can't talk today. Let's try that again. There we go. Linda Dean Crochet. This one is gorgeous as well. I'm sorry, I don't remember the exact name of Jessie's. I believe this one was Diamonds Reflected. Might be. I'm close. But this is another beautiful center out design. You can see how this one wants to be a little bit wonky. It wants to pull in. I did have to do quite a bit of blocking with this one. I wet blocked it and then I steam blocked it as well. You can see even after the steam blocking, it's not exactly perfect, but I know that when I sew it to the other squares around it, I'll surround it by some nice solid squares, if you will, and that will help pull it into shape. This is the back, so you can see it's a really beautifully reversible square as well. And here's the front. If you're in the Moogly Crochet Along group on Facebook, there have been some really great tips in there. People have had a lot of luck getting these long double crochets. They're also known as spike stitches, depending, on who you're following. This is what I think tends to pull down and cause this square to warp a little bit. It's a great effect. It's a beautiful effect, but, it has an effect. So there are a couple of really fun tips and things people have been doing in the group to help them mitigate that, involving working behind, the back loop of the stitch they're working over, and just really the main thing is to make sure that when you work those stitches to pull those up really high, taller than you think you're going to need to before you finish that stitch. So if you're in the group or if you're struggling with that square, join the group. It's free. And you can get a lot of really great tips in there. Everybody's wonderful in there and they're so helpful. Definitely check it out. Where did I put the other one? Back here. Okay. Too many things to show you today. All right. So that is where we're at with our crochet along. And square number 3, I believe, comes out tomorrow. So that's another thing to look forward to this week. Let's see what else. I got to go back to my list. And then, of course, we have all the patterns that have already come out this year. We've had quite a few already. 4, which is wild. We're just getting started. So the first one, let me try and bring it up here. I haven't had a chance to show yet in person, so to speak, is the Big and Little Crochet Basket Set. I've told you guys a million times, naming things is the hardest part, right? But that's essentially what this is. We have the big basket and we have the little basket. And you can see just how stiff, now that it's sort of in action on video, if you will, this basket isn't flopping over. You know what I mean? A lot of times you make crochet baskets, you're like, oh, they just flop over. I mean, I can push it over in like that, but it's not. It's a sturdy, steady basket. The big one, of course, is a little softer, just virtue by size, but it is still a basket that you can see. It really wants to sit up and be a basket. It's not trying to fold in on itself. It's going to sit up, be nice, wide, open, and beautiful, even when you don't have it, filled up. Common problem we end up with crochet baskets a lot, right? It's something I really try to mitigate in my designs. So this one is really beautifully stiff. Now the outside, or the main basket portion, if you will, is made using a stitch, that side split half double crochet that I came up with a few years ago. One of my favorites. The main basket is made with Bernat, come on, focus, there we go, Bernat Plush Big. So you can see that's a really big yarn to create these really great big stitches. There we go. But then the handles, obviously, have to be a thinner yarn. There we go. So for that, I used Bernat Plush, which you can see right here. Unfortunately, I don't have any more of the yellow with the pretty yellow. I love that yellow, but I don't have any more with the label on it. So this is, actually, I think this would be really fun too. I think that'd be a really fun combination for the handles. So the handles are completely optional. There are handles made with the bigger yarn underneath the yellow bits, if you will. They're just kind of little handle covers, but I think they give them kind of a really neat look. They kind of mimic that leather tab look you can find on rope baskets sometimes. So if you have leather, if you're somebody who has like little light leather scraps around or something, or fabric that you wanted to use to match your decor, I think that would be a really lovely idea to replace the Bernat. Not trying to tell you not to use yarn, but if you replace the handle covers with matching fabric or, something to match your decor more specifically, I think that'd be a really lovely idea too. And of course, the handle covers are optional. I just think they kind of help set off the look a little bit. So that is the Big and Little Bernat, or the Big and Little Crochet Basket Set made with Bernat yarn, up free on Moogly. Oops, sorry about that, everybody. We're trying to keep the microphone closer, but I knew I was going to whack it at least once. My apologies. There we go. All right. So that was the first pattern for the year. The second one I'm actually wearing right now, the Market Day cardigan. So hopefully you guys saw this one. This was a 3-week-long crochet along that we did in the month of January. And I'm wearing it, like I said, right now. You can see I'm sitting down, so I know it's not the best view. There's lots of really great photos on the pattern itself. And I did make a video of myself trying it on and modeling a little bit that went up on both Instagram and TikTok, if you wanted to check that out a little better. Standing up right here in front, you wouldn't get a very good view of me today, but just wanted to show it off a little bit here. You can see it is sleeveless. It's very easy to just throw on over whatever else you're wearing. Really just sort of an oversized, very comfy fit. I didn't make it terribly long because I work crocheting and at a computer for a living. So I'm sitting down most of my day. As much as I'm running around taking care of the house and kids, I still spend a lot of time sitting down working. And I wanted something I could throw on and comfortably sit down and work in. Now, a lot of people have asked me, how do I make it longer? They want something much longer, more of a coat, something they can, wear and cover more of their body. So to do that, all you have to do is add some more squares. And of course, it'll take a little bit more yarn. So I just wanted to reassure you if the length is what turned you off from the sweater, there is a solution. I have included that in part 3 with a drawing and some instructions on how to increase the length of this sweater to whatever you want. You do have to do it in 6-inch increments, but other than that, you can make it just as long as you'd like. So, hi everybody. Oh, thank you so much. I see some comments coming in. Hi, Beth and Terry and Julie and Molly and Wiz and Solange and Adrian. Thank you so much for joining me today. And thank you so much for the compliments on the sweater. I should point out that it's not just a cardigan. It's not just a sweater. It is made with Red Heart all-in-one granny square yarn. Whoop, there we go. So if you haven't had a chance to check this out yet, I do recommend you do it if you enjoy making granny squares. If you're not a granny square person, then just hold on. I think we'll be coming up with some other stuff for this yarn. But for right now, it's for granny squares. And the whole shtick, if you will, of this yarn is that you can make a 5-color, 5-round granny square, just like you see here on the label. And it comes in lots of colors. I've got a few of them here. You can do all that, and you're only going to have the 2 ends to weave in, the one at the beginning of the granny square and the one at the end of the granny square. This means you really have to work with your gauge and tension, play around with your hook size, and take a little bit of time with this yarn. It's got a learning curve. I'll admit, I was frustrated. The first time I tried it, I was like, oh my gosh, this isn't going to work. They're crazy. I stuck with it. I kept practicing. I tried a couple different hook sizes. I realized, for whatever reason, for me, that last round, I just have to work a little bit tighter than the other 4 rounds. It's just where I'm at with my tension. So play with it is what I recommend. You can really, literally just cut off the yarn to make one of the squares and use it over and over again. You don't have to waste the whole, skein or anything like that. It's yarn. When you make a mistake, you can just pull it out and try again. So I did. I made a lot of practice squares. I didn't take my own advice. I kept them so I could see what I did. But after some practice, I really got the hang of it, and I love it. I am not someone who loves weaving in ends, as you guys know. Here's another look at those beautiful colors. I'm not a big weaving in ends person, so I really kind of feel like this was made for me. It's one of the reasons I hadn't made a lot of granny square type garments before, because especially when you bring in those multicolors, end after end after end, right? With this, all these squares, just the 2 ends on each square, and that was it. I did use the same yarn here, you can see, to do the collar and the hem that's at the bottom, so you can see there's some color changing happening in there. But if you wanted to, you could very easily mix this yarn with Red Heart Super Saver and find some solids to coordinate. So if you wanted to do the collar and hem in cream, or even the brown or one of the other colors in here, or if you're using one of these, pick out one of these colors. I think that would be really lovely as well. And they make it really easy for you because the way these skeins are labeled, this one, for instance, is called Soft White Dash Hot Stuff. So hot stuff obviously refers to kind of the oranges and golds here. This one is called Aran Dash Cream. So it's sort of a cream colorway. First word is Aran on this one. The first word on this one is soft white. This one is called Soft White Dash Green Scream. So what that means is that while these are 2 very different colorways, the first part of the name is soft white, and that means that last round of these squares will both be soft white, so you could use them together. They're going to coordinate together in that last round. We can see that if I can get the labels turned the right direction here. Right there. You can see how that last round of each of these squares would be white. So that makes it really easy. So if you're, in the store going through bins of these, or online on yarnspirations.com trying to pick out which ones you want to use and you want to mix them together, but you're worried about how they're going to look together, you can sort of use that to help pair them up. For instance, this one that I used is the Aran Cream. This one is called Aran Soft Sky. likely you're going to have that same sort of cream colored last round on these. So these would go together really well too. So you could do it all in the same color. You can mix and match. It's just really fun. And like I say, it does take a little bit of a learning curve. And if it's not for you, if you don't mind weaving in ends, if you enjoy the way you make your granny squares, or maybe you want to make the granny squares solid colored, then that's absolutely fine too. You can make this pattern with the squares however you want to make them, with whichever yarn you want to use, as long as you can get a 6-inch square after 5 rounds of making granny squares. Otherwise, that's it. So the hook size you'll use is up to you. The yarn label for this yarn recommends a 5.5 millimeter, but in order to get the squares to work for me, I use a 5 millimeter. First part of the Crochet Along has a video dedicated just to helping you make those squares. So if you have any trouble using Red Heart all-in-one granny square, I really recommend you check out the part 1 tutorial for the Market Day cardigan, because that is really what that video is all about. So that is that. Oh, Diane has a great question. Where are the patterns for the squares themselves? I did reproduce it on the blog, but if you just want to make the squares, fortunately, where did I put all those? It is right inside the label. I think I had one of the labels here. Did I get rid of it? I may have. Oh, nope, here it is. There we go. One of the labels for Red Heart Granny Square right here. And if you just take it right off, it's got the pattern for the sweater that you can see there, but within that, there is the pattern for the square itself as well. There it is. I didn't bring my reading glasses with me over here, but right about there, right about halfway down, it'll say motif at the top, and that will have the instructions for the square. And I believe, yes, down here, I know it's a little hard to see under the lighting right here, but right there at the bottom, there's also a graph if you need a graphed instruction for that square. So this is quite small print. Like I say, I have it up on Moogly, and I'm 99% sure they've got it up somewhere on Yarn Inspirations as well. A little bit easier to read, because as I get older, I realize these are getting harder and harder for me to read as well. So you can get those a little bit larger for you as well. Yes, Becky, I love that. There's so many fun colors in there, and I'm really looking forward to exploring them all. I wanted to kind of try out this neutral one first, but there's some really fun stuff in there. And if you're somebody who really gets stuck trying to pick out colors, that's a great way to do it too, because those colors are already all picked for you. All right, so moving on, what else have we done? There is the Conversation Heart Box, my Valentine's Day pattern for this year. I try and put out one when I can. And this is one that I've had running around in my head for a very long time. So I was very excited to finally get it made and find the right yarn for it. This is Peyton's Classic Wool Roving Yarn that we used for this project right here. You can see this right there. It is a roving style yarn, hence the name, right? So if I hold it up really close, I don't know if you can see, there's no twist in this yarn, or maybe just a very, very gentle one, just enough to keep it together. And it is really fuzzy and textured like this. And what this does is, this is a 100% wool yarn that has not been treated with, it hasn't been super tightly spun. It hasn't had the superwash applied to it. Sometimes you'll see superwash wool out there. What superwash does is great, because it keeps things from shrinking in the washer and dryer, right? We've all had a sweater tragedy in our past. So superwash is fantastic for that. But superwash keeps it from doing that, and sometimes we want it to do that. We call it felting. If you haven't tried felting before, that's what I did for this project, this Candy Heart Box. Simple stitches, usually single crochet, half double crochet when you plan on felting. So that's what I've used here. And then I've described felting in the blog post. It's essentially hot water, maybe a little bit of soap, and lots of agitation. You can do it in a top-loading washing machine. Some people have done it in front loaders. I haven't tried it that way, so I can't speak to it personally. Because I have a front loader, I do it by hand. I just do it in a big bowl with some hot water, a little bit of soap. I put on gloves, or sometimes I'll use, when the water's really hot, I'll just use a wooden spoon to agitate it in there. Because I'm not going to go out and buy a top-loading washing machine just to felt things once in a while. But it's just a really fun and easy technique. Now you can see this is a box in 2 pieces here, so it is soft. It is still soft. If I had taken some more time to felt it, I could have shrunk it down more and probably gotten a little bit stiffer. But because I'm doing it by hand, it takes a little bit longer than doing it by machine. and I was happy with where it was. If I wanted to make it really stiff, what I would recommend doing is taking a little bit of plastic canvas, cutting it to shape and slipping it right inside the lid, and maybe another piece inside the bottom if you wanted to. I'm a big fan of plastic canvas for stiffening crochet like that. So you can see here is the lid, very simple. There it is, nice and in focus. I did not crochet. I sewed on the Be Mine using some Anchor embroidery floss. Big fan of Anchor embroidery floss. If you don't embroider very often like me, you may not go over to that section of the craft store very often. But if you've bought embroidery floss before, you did friendship bracelets when you were a kid. I made thousands, I'm sure. They come in those little sort of those little hanks, essentially, basically little thread hanks. And I love Anchor because it comes on spools. Makes it so much easier to handle. It's just like those hanks of thread are essentially like dealing with hanks of yarn, right? We have to have a yarn winder and a swift and all this to deal with it, but they don't give us those for threads. So putting them on a spool was such a brilliant idea. Big fan. So I wrote Be Mine, but as you know, if you've gotten candy hearts or conversation hearts before, there are dozens, if not hundreds of different sayings. And of course, you can customize it. Say something naughty, say something special, an in-joke, whatever it is for the person that you love. And you can make this beautiful little box to put whatever special things you want to put in there, whether it's candy or something really special this year. And then, of course, the lid, I know I have to do it on the table, so you can't see it, but there we are. The lid just pops right back on. See, that's what it looks like from underneath. Like so. So if you don't need a trinket box, but you wanted to do something for Valentine's, you could absolutely still just use the top portion of the box. And I think these would make some really fun coasters. You could make all different sorts of sayings and hand them out to friends this holiday. So even just a sort of a project inside the project for you there. Alrighty. Thank you. Oh, yay. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Sandy and Cynthia and Claire. Let's see. I'm just making sure I haven't missed any questions here. All right. So, yes, Diane, the large granny squares, the red and gray ones, all the granny squares, all these skeins should have the instructions inside, and it should be the same instructions. That's the fun thing. Once you figure out your tension and gauge for this yarn, take it to the next color. They're all distributed, the dye the same. So they did a lot of research, from what I understand, to try and figure out the most sort of average where everybody, or at least most people, could try and get the gauge to work. It's just one of those things. Everybody's gauge is different. So this was a real challenge. And it took some time, but I'm genuinely impressed. But anyway, that question answered. Back to this one. Yes, felting is fun. It is intimidating. I know, because I was super intimidated before I did it. And then I did, and I was like, oh, that's it. Okay, I can do that. So give it a try if you haven't before. At the end of the day, it's just yarn. And even if it doesn't work and it doesn't felt, you're still going to have a really cute heart-shaped box. It's just not going to be quite as stiff. And that's okay. So, alrighty. Oh, I love that idea. Sandy says I could use that box for storing dice for gaming. I love that. I've been seeing a lot of dice content lately. So that was up for Valentine's Day. I almost said Halloween. So that is free on Moogly as well. And then we've got, going down my list here, the Ladybug squish. Last one so far just came out on Friday. The latest squish design. This one was another much requested one. Believe me, everybody who's asking for puppies, it's still up there. Believe it or not, it's not the top most requested. This next one was Ladybug. So we have the Ladybug squish. And I think this one is just right in time for Valentine's Day too. If you go to the blog post for this one, I've got a fun suggestion. There are dozens, if not hundreds, of crochet patterns out there for crochet hearts. So I didn't want to try and reinvent the wheel, so to speak. But if you find one of those really simple 1, maybe 2 round, but I'd stick with a 1 round crochet heart, you can slip it between the safety eye and the face when you put it together, and then use those little hearts instead of the polka dots, and you'd have a love bug, which I think would be super cute. And I thought about it, but I really wanted to make this more general, if you will, for all year round. So this month for February, if you want to turn it into a love bug, I think that'd be a really fun idea. But for now, she's just a ladybug, or I guess I should say he. I think the he's are the ones that are all beautifully colored, ironically, right? But this one, I just use Bernat blanket like I do for all the rest of the squishes. As you know, there are lots of different kinds of Bernat blanket. For the squishes, I use the ones that are a 6 weight, the super bulky. Don't know if that'll, there we go, focus. That's what you want to look for. There are Bernats that are a 7, a jumbo weight. There's several of those, and those are quite a bit thicker. You can definitely use those to make that squish, but the squish is going to be bigger, of course, as well. So that's something to look forward to. Other than that, as long as it's the 6 weight, you can use Bernat Blanket Brights, Bernat Blanket Baby, Bernat Blanket Ombre, Bernat Blanket Perfect Phasing. I'm sure I'm forgetting a few more. As long as it's the 6 size, you can use whatever ones you want. Now, the Ladybug squish, obviously we want red and black. I think officially it was crimson and coal were the 2 colors. But of course, the other squishes, mix it up, use whatever colors and different kinds you like. We just need the 2 skeins. 1 skein of the red and 1 skein of the black are all we needed to make this Ladybug squish. Of course, safety eyes. I used 24 millimeter safety eyes. You can use whatever size you like. I was very lucky and managed to find a box of just the 24 millimeter ones on Amazon, so I've linked that, but they're not always available. So, whatever size you like to use. And the other thing about safety eyes is I always like to mention they are not rated for children under 3 years old, nor can I pay the thousands upon thousands of dollars to have this item safety tested for children under 3 years old. I'm not sure you could even do that when people end up making it at home. So be aware, if you are making this for someone under 3, safety eyes are not officially considered safe, and you may want to embroider on those eyes instead, or at least make sure the child is using it with supervision. So all that legalese said, here's the Ladybug. I think it turned out super duper cute. I did 5 spots on each side for a total of 10, and I tried to make them sort of symmetrical. When I was looking, you would not believe how many pictures of ladybugs I look at when I design these things. But we've got 6 legs, just like a real ladybug right here. We've got that center line is done with surface crochet. There is a tutorial for this guy coming out on Friday. We just finished filming it yesterday. We go over, the first 5 rounds of the body, which are the same as the first round of the spots. They're the same as the face, the same as the belly. There's a lot of similar stitches in this one, just like the other squishes. So another fun one to give a try. And one of the reasons I was able to make a squish this month is because the pillow balls I like to use are finally back in stock on Amazon as well. So linked in the tutorial, will be linked in the tutorial, and definitely is linked in the pattern if you are interested in using those pillow balls as well. I think they're just micro bead pillow balls. I think they give a really nice shape. I get them in typically pink because I think it fades away behind the different colors. Although I had a green one. I used that one for my frog. So the color itself doesn't matter, but I think, like I say, it just gives it a really nice firm shape. It is optional. If you'd prefer, you can absolutely use fiberfill or old yarn, old clothes, rags, whatever, something clean. But whatever you like to fill it up is absolutely fine. And if you want to make it smaller, I get questions all the time. Can I use worsted weight yarn or even something smaller and make a little guy? Absolutely. It's not going to be 10 inches big, of course. Just like if you use bigger yarn, you're going to get a bigger squish. If you use smaller yarn, you're going to get a smaller squish. But you can mix it up and make the squish your own for sure. And make a different color. Who says ladybugs have to be red and black? Nature? Ugh. We're crocheters. We don't have to follow the rules. So this is up free now on mooglyblog.com. Like I say, it'll have a video tutorial up on Friday as well. So thank you, guys. Thank you so much. I'm glad you think he's cute. Squish, how squishy is it? I will tell you this. The pillow balls, if you use the pillow balls, I think they have started stuffing them more. I have tried to figure out, if any of you can figure out how to get a hold of the people who sell them, I would like to have a conversation with those people on a few different topics. But I think they've started making them a little firmer than they used to be honest. Every once in a while, I'll get one that I have to open up a little seam and empty a little bit of the balls out, the filling, the micro beads, if you will. But that is rare. So depending on how full your squishy ball comes, if you will, because again, we're dealing with a different manufacturer and they have their own standards. It's pretty squishy. And if you use fiberfill, it would be squishier still. I don't know if you can hear. I don't know if you guys can hear that at all. Probably not. It's quiet. It's subtle, but it is pretty squishy. And if you want it even squishier and a little bit looser, then you can go up a little bit of a hook size too. I wouldn't go up too much. You want to make sure your fabric is still really tight and solid. But if you want to, you could use fiberfill, make it softer. Some people have sewn little spheres, those who are good at sewing. I do not have a pattern for that. I want to point that out right away. But people have sewn spheres of fabric, and you can purchase micro beads. The micro bead filler, the weighted fillers, the weighted beads, all kinds of really fun stuff at the craft store. So you can just really customize the inside of this guy as well. Make it weighted, make it a weighted sort of therapy animal if you want to. Keep it really light with the fiber fluff. You know, like I say, lots of options for filling these guys up. And people are always, you know, mentioning when they say, oh, I made one and I filled it with XYZ. And I was like, oh my gosh, I never thought of that. So lots of creative ideas, whatever you like to fill it up with, for sure. All righty. Thank you, guys. All right. And thank you so much. Thank you. I'm so glad you guys like that. Julie says she's working on her cat squishes as we speak. So that's awesome. Thank you. I think the cat squish might be one of my favorites. For those who are at Vogue Knitting Live this past weekend, maybe the weekend before, I'm losing track of time. But I guess it was 2 weekends ago now. Vogue Knitting Live, I was lucky enough to have a few items displayed there, I believe in the Go Sadie booth, and the cat squish was up there. So if you were at Vogue, you might have seen the cat in person. All right, so that is all the video or the new patterns that are up so far for 2024. More to come. If you follow me on TikTok, you may have seen a little sneak peek of what I'm working on right now. And in fact, what I'm working on right now is made with Bernat Maker. And this is our current yarn giveaway happening on mooglyblog.com right now too. Worked that out nicely. So anyway, if you are familiar with Bernat Maker Home Deck, this probably looks really familiar. It is changing its name, revamped for 2024. Bernat Maker Home Deck is now just Bernat Maker because, of course, you can use it for whatever you want. It also has some gorgeous new colors for this year. So we've got a great giveaway going on for it for mooglyblog.com right now. Linked in today's post. You know, if you go to mooglyblog.com, right at the top where it says giveaways, you can click there and go right there. Lovely, lovely colors. This one is the lichen colorway. I believe this one might be called hyacinth, I think. These are, my skeins are, sometimes I get skeins at a little early because I work with Yarn Inspiration, so mine don't have the official labels. If you guys want to see a little behind the scenes thing for what people who work with yarn companies get sometimes, that's how mine are labeled. Oh, and a hair. I always get my hair on things. There we go. So just a little hand label on that one, the jam colorway. So pretty. This one is so pretty. It just doesn't show up on camera, I think, as beautifully as it does in person. Every time I look at this one, I think how pretty it is. And then I look at it on camera and say, oh, it's really pretty. It's really, really pretty in person. So lots of gorgeous colors. Of course, a really bright, gorgeous yellow, which I'm really into right now. Saffron, I think is the name for this one. But yeah, there's more on the shelf. I couldn't even bring over here because they'd fill up the table. Gorgeous colors. Like I say, really, really refreshed it, I think, for 2024. The other colors were gorgeous, and I love the stitch definition on this yarn. If you guys haven't had a chance to try this out yet, look at that. It's a lot like the Bernat Plush in that it is a tube yarn, but this one is significantly thinner. So, and just a little bit different makeup too. This is the Bernat Plush Big to give you an idea. Oop, get that in focus there. Here is the Bernat Plush Regular. And then here is, I'll put this one over here for a better comparison. This is the Bernat Maker. So they're all really soft. They're all tube yarns. The Bernat Plush is filled with fibers that match the outside, if you will. I know white is probably not the best example, but there you go. You can see the end is the same color and it's the same. Let me see. I've got a blue one here. Let me pull this one up here and get that to focus. You can see there. You can see how that's filled with the same color fibers. For this one, I'm not sure. Do I have an end sticking out? I don't want to ruin one of my skeins. Here we go. Let me see. This is, as you can see, a much smaller tube. Let's see if I can actually just going to pull apart one of the ends here if I can. There we go. Okay, so this one, you have to be careful to do this because it's not something you want to do on purpose, but I've managed to pull back This one you can see is more of a sheath, if you will, of fabric around a fluffy core like this. That's a little more fluffy. And then you can kind of slide that back over like that. So it's a slightly different construction makeup. I'm sure there's official words to describe all that I don't know. But it is a really, really fun tube yarn. And like I say, the stitch definition is just over the top on all three of these yarns. But this one does it in a really beautiful 5 bulky weight. So check that out. It is gorgeous. I'm so happy. I've gotten so much good feedback already. People are super excited that it is back on shelves. So you can look for that, hopefully in a store near you. What else? The only other thing that's happened so far this month is we have had the Divine Debris Designer Showcase. If you haven't checked out Amber's stuff, she's fantastic. I think I just kind of came across her on Instagram, fell in love with what she's doing. Her crochet designs are really fresh and fun. Definitely check out her stuff. I love her bags. If you love tote bags, you'll definitely want to follow Amber, Divine Debris, or wall hangings. I'd say she does great sweaters and all kinds of stuff, but I think her wall hangings and her tote bags are two things that always come right to mind for me when I think of her design. So definitely do check that out. And then I want to say there's one other thing. Oh yeah, we're going to England. I can't believe it. I'm so excited. This fall, October 2024, we're going to be going to England. And by we, I mean me, Moogly, and hopefully as many of you as can come. We are going to be going, it's early October. I don't have the dates right in front of me. If you know me, you know dates are slip through my fingers and my ears. But early October, we're going to England. We're going to be going to the London Knitting and Stitching Show, which I'm very excited about. We've got tickets to that, go to that for 2 days, which is amazing. I've been to lots of different kind of knitting shows and yarn shows and things over here in the States, but I've never been to one in a different country. So I think that'll be really, really exciting. I can't wait to see all the different yarns and things. Let's see what else. We're going to Stonehenge. We're going to be going through the Cotswolds. We're going to Bath. We are, like I say, just exploring the country as much as we can. I will be teaching crochet workshops as we go, and hanging out with you guys and doing all the super fun things. I think there is an optional cooking class at one point. I don't know what we're making, but I'm excited. I love to eat probably almost as much as I love to crochet. So lots of really fun things. It's really exciting. It's with Craft Tours. Again, we went with Craft Tours on a trip to Ireland this summer, which was years in the making, unfortunately, due to world events. But it did finally happen this summer, and it was so fantastic. We've decided to do some more. So October 2024, I will be going to England, and I very much want all of you to join me, or at least as many as possible. And then there's some other trips in the works as well. Still one more this year, December 2024. I don't have the exact dates, but we will be going to Germany and Austria for the Christmas markets and some more crochet. So that's very exciting. Absolutely so excited to go to those Christmas markets. If you know anything about the Christmas markets in Germany and Austria, it is a big deal. And I'm super thrilled to go there. I'm sure there's going to be so many amazing handmade things and crochet and knitting and textiles. And I think it's just going to be really fantastic. So I'm really excited for that. So that's the 2 trips for this year. And then in 2025, I'm trying to think what's next year? 2025, we are planning on trips to both New Zealand and Scotland. So if you're interested in any of those, England, Germany, Austria, New Zealand, Scotland, we're going to be crocheting. We're going to be seeing yarny things, and the countryside and all the other things, whatever we can squeeze in on these trips. Now that I've done one and I know how absolutely fantastic it was, I was very eager to sign up for more, and I'm really excited to take you guys on those. Of course, we've got a wonderful tour guide because obviously I know nothing about England or New Zealand or Scotland or any of these places. But the tour guide we had for Ireland was phenomenal. And I am sure the rest will be wonderful as well. So I'm really, really excited. For the trip to Ireland, we had a lot of people come in pairs with a friend, but we also had lots of people come on their own, and they had a great time. One of the things I was really pleased about the Ireland experience beyond, the crochet and the yarn and seeing Ireland and being in Europe and all that fun stuff, was how well the group really came together. And I think that just made me so happy. It was a smaller group because after several years, a few people had fallen off. Again, world events. But nobody was left out. I think, everybody's included. We all stay together as a group. Even the nights where, everybody splits up and kind of does their own thing and gets to explore the city. Everybody was just so welcoming and kind, and everybody on the trip was there to have a good time. And even when things didn't work out according to plan, it was just such a joy. We were able to work in some surprises instead. Um, and it was such a great experience. And I really, really hope, I know it's a big thing. I know I never traveled, overseas really before all this, one or two things, but this is a new experience for me too. I know it is, it's a lot bigger than saying, hey, let's go to the local yarn store or, go over to our local Michael's and pick up some yarn and try this new project. But it's just such a wonderful opportunity and it's so unique. And I really enjoyed the way that Craft Tours put things together for us. So I hope you'll consider joining me. There's, like I say, it's not till October, so there's still lots of time. Get signed up, bring a friend, come on your own. I'll be there the whole time. Hang out with me. I'm super excited and I cannot wait to get back over there and have some more fun and see some more sights. So that is what's going on right now, so to speak. Definitely planning. Got to get your passports done in time. If you don't have a passport yet, you'll want to get on that part right away. Heavens knows how long that's taking these days. But I really do hope you'll join us. I had put a big post up yesterday on Moogly, sort of going over what we're doing and where we're going. As far as we know so far. And of course, I've linked out to the site on Craft Tours where you can go ahead and make your reservations. If you're not sure if you want to go, or maybe England isn't your thing, but you're interested in Germany or New Zealand or one of the other places, or even one of the other trips they're doing without me, you can definitely sign up for that on Craft Tours as well. And they will send you information as soon as we have more information about those other trips. But I'm really excited and I'm already pondering what we're going to make for these trips. I like to try and kind of theme it. If you saw the Irish Adventure Bag, that was our Ireland trip project. So I'll have to come up with something, specific to London or at least England, and definitely been pondering. So that's awesome. Gosh. Okay. Molly Bean. Oh, thank you, Molly. She says she got her passport in about 3 weeks. So that's great to know. I know last time I had to get mine, it took a little bit longer than 3 weeks. So I just want to make sure everybody knows you will need a passport, not a visa right now. I just checked that actually earlier today. But you do need a passport. So, thank you so much, Nifty. Thank you so much. This is the Market Day cardigan. So this is free up on mooglyblog.com right now. Thank you for asking. Let's see. Who was the person for the totes and things? Divine Debris. Everything I've talked about today is on the newest post on mooglyblog.com, which should be linked in the description of this video. And I've got links out to all the things I think that I've chatted about today. And if I've missed something, definitely let me know and I will add it for sure. But I've linked to Divine Debris there. She's got 5 free patterns up on Moogly, linked out for you to check out. And of course, lots of other great stuff on her blog as well. So do check that out. Julie, fingers crossed that you're able to make it as well and everything works out there. That's exciting. So yes, Kim, I agree. It's going to be an amazing experience and I'm just thrilled and excited, but of course, lots of great things to come on Moogly in the meantime. Like I say, tomorrow we'll have a new Crochet Along square and Friday we'll have a tutorial for that Ladybug squish so you all can make one with me. All right. I think that's it. I have to get my kid to the eye doctor. So I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day and we'll see you again in about 2 weeks or so for another Moogly Live. Talk to you later, everybody.